Welcome to the National Women's Fitness Academy podcast. We're here to talk about women's health, female hormones, body image, and all things health and fitness.
Hello, girls, and welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fitness Academy podcast. I'm your host, Siggy, one of the WFA's educators and a women's body image and fitness coach. Today, I'm joined by the lovely Chloe from Limestone Physiques, who's your number one hype girl. Now, more importantly, she's here to make all of you understand that your training and your eating habits are to be tangible and not from the desire to live up to the standards set by society. And this is a huge one. I feel as if today's podcast, you girls are going to come out of this with so many takeaways, so many lessons that we need to stop pedestaling people in the industry, pedestaling celebrities, pedestaling whoever you're looking up to right now, thinking they are perfect, like in your eyes that they're perfect, and setting yourself up for failure because it's not sustainable. So, Chloe, welcome, babe.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So for those who don't know you, Chloe, would you mind, diving into a little bit of what made you become a coach?
Yeah, 100%. So I guess for me, what led me into the fitness industry, so I probably need to preface that, just like a lot of females, was insecurity. So I didn't get into the fitness industry, because I loved exercising. I got into it because I wanted to look different. I wanted to be like everyone else on the Instagram in the fitness industry and whatnot. And so I guess that's probably the biggest thing that led me there. However, that unfolded into something very different. I had to learn lessons along the way, that being caught up in the way I looked was actually very detrimental for my mental and my physical health. And now my kind of mission is to educate women in having great relationships with their body, being happy with the way they look and the way they feel.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of women can relate to this, because we do tend to get into the health and fitness industry because of us not looking a certain way that we're wanting to look, but then we're depriving ourselves by either yo-yo dieting or taking on a few challenges or trying this crazy stuff that actually just makes us feel even worse.
Yeah, 100%. It's very much so. We're chasing the unattainable, and even when we attain it, we realize that doesn't actually make us happy. So definitely.
What was that point in your journey at the start where you realized, fuck, this is not working for me, I need a change?
So just to get a little bit deep here, but I developed a pretty extreme eating disorder. So I had anorexia, and that was probably when I was to the point that I nearly needed to be hospitalized. That was when I really took a look in the mirror and was realizing, is this actually worth it? Is this idea of quote unquote perfection worth how miserable I'm feeling?
Anorexia is something that isn't spoken openly enough. I don't know about you. I have a few clients who have suffered for it. I know friends who've overcome it as well. But not many people realize the issues around being with, having anorexia symptoms, or, going through those years of having that condition. What was it like for you having anorexia?
It was pretty much all consuming, to be honest. That was my life. It was just, I think with a lot of my clients that have eating disorders, and there's many different types and subtypes, but it's very much this idea of perfection, and trying to be better. And I always when I kind of explain it to my clients, and this is the way I felt myself, it's almost a form of self-harm, but a subconscious one, because you're not there are so many forms of self-harm, but you're not going out there going, I want to hurt myself, but you are, because you don't have a good relationship with yourself. And that's very much what it was. I was not really happy with myself a single day out of when I had anorexia, which looking back now is it's crazy to me, because it's the opposite now. I have more good days than I do bad. But yeah, so it was definitely very much a very dark time, and it wasn't just hard for me, it was hard for everyone around me, everyone that cared about me. But I was very lucky with the people that surrounded me as well.
Support and environment is such a big thing.
Super massive. Yeah, definitely having supportive friends, or supportive family members. And I have to argue, like, even a supportive coach, someone who understands your psychology and is not trying to push you in the other direction. I was lucky to have a coach, shout out to Jack, who was just amazing in understanding what I needed. And because I think sometimes it can be the opposite. You can get someone who doesn't recognize the signs of an eating disorder and can push you further into that hole, which I've seen happen.
Yeah. I reckon before we go down that loop of,
I'm like,
my brain is just going nuts right now. So through that stage where you were suffering through anorexia, what are some things that you held yourself back from doing back then?
Eating out, socializing, having friends, going away on holidays, wearing clothes. I would always wear clothes that were super baggy and heaps of layers, so that wouldn't be like shown. So pretty much just having a normal life, to be honest. I was so consumed with my eating disorder that I didn't want to deviate from the plan of my day. And so that meant not seeing people, not letting, people close to me. I was so terrified of food that, like, my day had to just be the furthest away from food. So going out and eating with friends was just too scary.
Wow. What did you do instead?
I honestly, like, it's a blur now. I wouldn't even know what I did with my time. Probably just mindless activities to try and, keep myself somewhat sane. So, like, honestly, probably scrolling through Instagram, which was even more toxic, to be honest, because, like, it perpetuates that toxic body image, editing photos, whatever it is. And that's what I was just filling up my brain with daily. So yeah, definitely was a vicious cycle for sure.
I find during that time, I can't relate to the disorder that you had, but I can relate to not wanting to go out with friends to eat because of the fear of being out of control, or, being so out of control that you end up having a binge after those meals.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it's really common. A lot of people don't understand that life is about balance, and we kind of go from the two extremes, either eating nothing or eating everything. So I definitely agree with that. And it's a scary feeling, like you don't have control over your own, like, body or choices. And it's also even worse knowing that you can't enjoy simple things like spending time with your friends because you're afraid of the way you might look from one meal out as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy to realize how far we've come in terms of not just as an industry, but as women as well, noticing our old behaviors. Like you said, back then it just feels like a blur right now. You can't relate to that old self of you because your habits are so completely, like, they're polar opposite to what they're.
Yeah, definitely. But it takes a lot of self-awareness, and also knowing what to cut out from the industry that you view and what you watch. What you consume is massive, and I definitely think that was a big thing for me with my eating disorder. Like, if I honestly, like, as weird as it sounds, because it's the app I use the most for my own business, Instagram was definitely what set me on that body perfection kind of, like, rampage. So
speaking of Instagram, like, what were the things that you were watching back then?
Oh, I don't want to name any influencers because I'd feel bad, and that's not, I'm not here to be like bitchy or anything like that, but I definitely was looking at your common circuit workouts, influencer green smoothie, like what I eat in a day, which was basically like a salad. So I was definitely like, that is kind of what I was consuming all the time. And it probably started when I was 16. Because Instagram was definitely at its, like, peak back then as well.
Salad and a muesli bar. That's what I remember.
Yeah, literally. And, like, ab workouts, because that's what gives you abs, apparently, according to Instagram. So yeah, definitely.
And unfortunately, that still goes on today. That apparently,
Oh,
yeah,
100%. I mean, you'd probably see it like even with your own clients, like that's still things that people believe.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, even low fat diets or not eating carbs, it's a massive problem still today. Like women, as you said, have come so far. Now we're like, I see more and more clients come in a bit like educated, understanding, but at the same time, like there's still a lot of fear around eating carbs, eating more foods, eating above like 1600 calories kind of thing.
I cannot imagine eating 16 cat.
I
16,
would cry. Yeah.
that's literally 2 meals out of my day.
Yeah, I'm literally on 3,200 right now because in a build because I could not imagine 1,600 calories.
I
But
know.
um,
Whenever someone's like telling me, "Oh, I'm on a diet and I'm doing 1600," I'm like, "You poor thing." Like, what?
yeah, yeah. Why are you doing that? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
and not saying that 1600 calories is bad for you. Obviously, there's a time and place to do it. However, if you're doing it for too long and it's not setting up you for success, then maybe you need to reassess it.
definitely 100% because there are times when it's necessary, but I think people don't realize like how often you should be, refeeding your body and how long you should be
Mm,
in a deficit for.
yeah.
Definitely.
So, good point that you made around refeeding your body. When you started coming out of anorexia and into more training and nutrition and like training with Jack, I'm assuming, before we started recording, we mentioned how Jack has been a really big influence in your fitness journey. What was it like for you stepping away, you stepping into the uncomfortable or the unknown by you letting go of, your old self?
Yeah. It was super scary. There were very like heaps of times where I didn't think that I could do it. Because it's way more comfortable being comfortable, right? It's easier to stay inside your to the things that and like has worked for you in the past. But at the same time, it wasn't working for me. I was miserable, and I had to put my trust in someone, and that's why I think a massive part of coaching and people choosing coaches should be trust. Trust should be the first thing that you look for. Someone that you actually genuinely know cares about you and your like what you want. So yeah, I did that. I got a coach. I went through many different like trials with people and I had to like, I guess see who fit my vibe and who I really trusted, put my health first. And so yeah, it was slow. It was definitely slow. Jack started me on foods that I was comfortable with and just kind of let me experiment with eating more. Um, I even remember like the first time I ever went out to a restaurant, which was a really big deal for me because I hadn't been out in like 3 years. I was like, Jack, is this okay? Like I'm going to Japanese. And he just reassured me that anything I got on that menu would be fine. So, going from there to where I am now, it's crazy. I look back and I can't even imagine ever caring about, eating out with friends. But that was me back then for sure.
Mm. And you know what? With the support of Jack or support as from a coach, it is so reassuring to clients knowing that they are being led in the right way, but also being supported. And I feel as if you'll resonate with this a lot. Is the industry is flooded with coaches. However, there's the not so good ones. There is the good ones, and then there's like the excellent ones.
Yeah.
And obviously everyone is put in a different category, but I find what a really successful coach is someone who empathizes with you, who understands your needs and is able to lead you to the way that you're wanting to be led to.
Definitely. I totally agree. Empathy is massive. And we should look in it like for anyone that we ask to help us in any aspect of our health journey, whether that's a doctor, a coach, anything. Like someone doesn't have empathy for you, that's really scary. So totally agree. It's massive. And I think that definitely makes a good coach. Caring makes you a good coach.
What are you like with your clients? Because as someone who's suffered from eating disorders, I'm sure you get a lot of women who come with these issues or concerns around food. Like, how do you navigate that with them?
Yeah, so it probably would be first seeing where the person's at. So some girls are very, very attached to numbers and calories and whatnot, and that's not healthy if you are like that. So, everyone's different. So for someone like on the extreme end of an eating disorder, they're not weighing themselves at all. I don't want them to look at the number on the scale. They're not focusing on any of the calories or the macros. So if I do write them a meal plan at the beginning, because tracking is just way too hard for them, I will blank out their macros so they have no idea what they're eating. And that's where we start. We start from like very, very basics and transition. I've had one of my oldest clients, she came to me not even wanting to eat a single carb, and now can eat up to 300 grams of carbs or more. It's not just a process where overnight, but it happens. And I think that's the thing that the fitness industry kind of, the thing that's a shame is we're so used to quick results, but it's like to psychologically meet in line with our physical results, to be on par, is to take time, is to, it could be a year. And that's not sexy to people, like knowing, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to wait a year to be in a good place with my results.
Yeah, it's also because we've been sold that people can get results very quickly.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, quick fixes.
Yeah, the old 6-week, 8-week challenges. And you know what? Don't get me wrong, that sometimes can be a really good kickstart for someone.
Yeah.
However, once you finish that 8 week and you don't know what to do next, that's when you fall back onto your old habits. That's when you repeat your old, habits. There's no sustainability, and most likely you put all the weight on.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And I think it's not that the challenges itself is bad. It's that post-education that's needed for people to understand how to sustain results.
100%. And while we're talking about sustainability, that's something obviously that you're very passionate about, and making people realize that it's not just a linear progression where people usually see that happening on social media, being like, oh, I went from A to Z in like how long? But they don't see the actual journey of going, the ebbs and the flows, or, the failures and the wins and.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had points in even this year where for like a couple of months, I just have not bothered. I've gone to the gym, but when it comes to food and everything, no, I wasn't progressing because it just wasn't my priority. Or mentally things got in the way. And I think that's what true sustainability is. That's what true long-term results are. Not being perfect 99.9% of the time. There are going to be times where you just don't do it, and that's okay. It's about getting back up and just going, okay, cool, moving on.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with you on that one. And it's also teaching people how to step away from that perfectionism mindset, that all or nothing, that old mentality going, oh, well, if I fail on Tuesday, well, fuck it, I'll just whole week and I'll start again on Monday. It's just like, no, Karen, you start again tomorrow.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I always say to my clients, I'm like, what's the difference between starting on Thursday or Monday? Your body doesn't know the difference between the days of the week. It's just you telling yourself you already know, predetermined in your mind, you want to fuck up the rest of the week. So yeah, it's the less harsh you are on this yourself, the more likely you are of just continuing on the next day.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so funny that we're talking about this, because where are we now? September. So at the end of July, I was out in Bali for the Women's Fitness Academy's retreat, and during that time, I barely trained. I ate all the food. It was absolutely amazing. But people don't realize after holidays or being away, getting back into your normal routine takes a while. You can't bounce back straight into it. I swear it took me a good 2 weeks to get back into my usual routine of like train in the morning, do my meal preps on Mondays, and like getting good night's sleep. People don't realize it takes time. You can't just bounce back straight into it. And it's funny because I noticed myself falling into that mindset going, oh, well, if I fail today, then I might as well wait till next week. And I'm like, hold on a second. This crazy talk.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like, it's okay to not. And I mean, so many things get in the way, whether it's a bad breakup, whether it's your mental health, and I'm not saying like just put all your fitness goals aside and just like, wallow in it. But it's super important to like have a bit of empathy with yourself and be like, you know what? I just came from a holiday. I need a couple weeks to get back into the routine, or I just went through a breakup. I need a couple months to get through like into the routine. I always say to my clients, like, pick the lowest hanging fruit So stop thinking that you're going to go from 0 to 100. If all you can do that week is nail your steps or nail your food and don't worry about the gym and the training, that's okay, because it's still progress. So yeah, definitely.
So funny that you mentioned breakups. I don't know why, but it must be the season. I have a few clients who have been splitting with their partners, and your emotional capacity goes down. In essence, you're grieving. You're grieving the end of a relationship, and
100%.
yeah, most of the time you're not going to be wanting to do anything. So I love the fact that you mentioned, instead of setting these really high expectations and achieving nothing, how about we tone it down and make it as possible?
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, you'd probably, again, see this with your clients, but stress levels actually have more of a negative impact, even just scientifically looking at it, on your body. And I always say to my clients, if doing all this causes you that much stress, do you really think that's good for your body? Like, you're not going to be digesting properly, your cortisol levels are going to be off the charts. Like, it's super important to understand what balance actually means. You can still live a healthy life without being like perfect to the T.
And you know what? Perfection doesn't get you anywhere.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I've tried it and I was miserable. So yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Like,
And it doesn't exist either.
well, yeah, exactly. It doesn't. And this is a good example of us going back to talking about social media. How we see all these perfect bodies, these perfect meals, these perfect posts. It's just like you're comparing yourself to all of these things, and you're setting yourself up for failure because, oh, well, my meals don't look as good as that, so I'm not going to post it. Or she talks so wonderfully on a story, but I'm always like mumbling my words. Oh, I'm just not going to bother.
Yes. Yeah. Or they wake up at like, 3:30 in the morning. Like, I should be doing that too.
Don't get me started on that. Don't.
I always say to guys, I do not wake up that early. Like, not that there's anything wrong with it, but it shouldn't be glorified either. Like, it's okay to not have a hectic day either. I don't know why you'd wish that upon yourself, to be honest.
Well, we also know this is the issue of the society. It's pushing us to do the hustle, to look busy, because busy is successful. But people don't realize, if you're so busy doing all the things, you're just going to burn yourself out.
Yeah, 100%. And if you're truly successful, shouldn't success be determined about not having a crazy workload because you're self-sustainable? So yeah, definitely. Like, I think, we, as you said, like, society teaches us that if we're busy, if we're posting like grinding, that's success.
Yeah. And that relates really well to training as well. As women, we used to think that we would have to train every day, or do the cardio workout, do the ab workout, do this glute workout to get those hip dips. Oh my God. To do all these things, but it's just like, when are you actually going to be resting? And people didn't realize, oh, rest is actually more productive than what I'm doing.
100%. I saw the most progress in my muscle growth, and it's a fact anyway, when I learned to actually rest. Now I train like maybe 4 to 5 days a week, and I see the most progress. So definitely, it was like, I remember that it was like training, then you'd have your ab workout, then you do your little cardio at the end, or your sprints or whatever. Your HIIT workouts were really big back then. So yeah, definitely.
I love that. Yeah, it's so relatable to what we're talking about, because my next question for you was going to be asking you, because in relation to obviously the eating disorders and the body image, it kind of relates back into social media. But what did it take you to get out of that place of needing to look a certain way, well, needing to look skinny or acceptable, or having like the six pack that women are always wishing to have, to actually feeling stronger, feeling healthier?
Yeah, I think two things would probably be my biggest factors to from going from where I started to now, and that would be like a radical self-acceptance. And like, not only accepting, but like, as corny as it sounds, I used to not be able to say this, but loving myself. And that's super important. And the other biggest thing is falling in love with training. And actually, I got to a place where I was like, I love this. This is like my therapy, and I want to eat to fuel my body so that I can perform well the next day. It wasn't about looking a certain way. It was about performing and enjoying something. So that would probably be the biggest things that changed my perspective.
I love that. And that kind of takes me to talking about mental health and body positivity, because as you said, you didn't think you'd be the one who would be telling herself that she loves her body, because coming, from an eating disorder and suffering from anorexia, most of the time you're trying to portray yourself looking a different way because you despise the way you look, or you're trying to neglect all the things that are happening. So it's interesting for us to chat about this, especially because women suffer from this so much, and most women will train because they're wanting to look a certain way, not because they accept their body, but because they despise it.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the thing, like it's not okay to have a body goal, and that's something, like I'm not as naive as to think like people don't want to change. Of course we do, and that's healthy, that's fine. But it's, if you're doing it in a place of self-hate, that is where like you can just go so downhill so fast. Because if you hate it, if you hate every single moment of that workout, do you really think it's going to be sustainable? No. So definitely coming to a place where you're like, I love myself. Even if you can't like focus on the physical yet, say you're not there in your journey, just understanding the parts of you that you love and you want to look after yourself, you want to be healthy for future you, is massive.
Don't get me wrong, I do have a love-hate relationship with squats.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not either. Like, I'm not just, killing myself in my sessions and going like, I love this so much. Like, no, but like long term, I do love training. Not every single.
Yeah. I'm sure listeners going, I'm like, yeah, squats or lunges. I feel as if it's
Bulgarians. My clients, Bulgarians. Every time they see it in their programs, they're like, I literally hate you. Why are you doing this to me?
Literally, yeah. I got a couple of my girls on this current phase two for leg growth, and they both have variations of Bulgarians.
Yeah.
Every time they do their workout, they're like, I hate you.
Yeah, they're like, yeah. Sometimes I think about it, I'm like, I'm really causing these poor girls so much pain. But yeah, Bulgarians are like the devil's work. I think that and sissy squats. I don't know.
Oh God, no.
They're just like, no.
Nah, can't, no. Sissies? Oh, no.
And they shouldn't be called sissy squats. That's a terrible name.
I know, right?
Like you're anything but a sissy if you're doing them. Like they're hard.
So true.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh yeah, loving the process of the training instead of despising, the way that you see yourself by, better progress.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like looking after yourself. You don't have to love it. I mean, you don't wake up in the morning going, I love brushing my teeth. This is so fun. You do it because you genuinely know, like, if you don't, your teeth will go rotten, and you care about yourself enough to do that. And it's the same with training. It's the same with eating well. It's just about caring about yourself enough to do it. Not, oh my God, I hate myself, like I'm brushing my teeth. That's not healthy. But yeah.
Well, I hope no one's doing that.
If anyone is doing that, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually quite enjoy brushing my teeth. I don't know why.
Hey, that's a good thing. I mean, if you enjoy it, it means your teeth will be whiter, so that's not a bad thing.
That's a bonus. One less thing to worry about.
Literally. But yeah, no, definitely having a good relationship with your body is massive. But again, like you can't just expect that to happen overnight as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that relates back to mental health. Like I know we wanted to chat about this as well. It kind of ties into what we've already spoken about, how, progress is not always linear. We can't be perfect, but also having a healthy relationship with your mind as well as with your body.
100%. And that's the thing. If I was to give anyone like what you must do beforehand, if you were to choose between like a psych and your fitness journey, I would say, or not even seeing a psychologist, but your mental health and your fitness journey, look after your mental health and the rest will follow. I'm a really big advocate of that, and also understanding that your mental health plays a really big part in your motivation, in your approach to the gym, in your expectations. Because if you're struggling with something pretty massive, you can't expect yourself to do what the average person is doing, and that's okay.
It's so important for people to realize that, because after doing one thing, the rest will just follow as well.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Like, it's if you look after yourself mentally, if you're feeling good mentally, there's not much obstacles in the way to stop you from achieving whatever you want, whether that's physical, whether that's in life, whether it comes to career, relationships, like it all stems at how you feel mentally.
Mm. What are some things that have helped you with your mental health?
I would say surrounding yourself a bit with people that uplift you and make you feel good about yourself. Super important. Your environment is massive. So that would be a really like big thing. Two, I would probably say knowing when to go off social media. So, I've had times in my life where I've had like a full week off every single social media platform. And I think it's really good just to ground yourself and have something. Like for me, it's like going to the beach and listening to music, or, something that brings me back into reality and away from my screen. Those are probably my biggest things.
I can relate to that, especially the consumption of Instagram. I don't know if you can relate to this, but as a coach as well, I think we tend to get really inspired by what other coaches and professionals are doing out there. And you will save a reel or you'll save a post and be like, oh, that gave me a really good idea to create content. And then you come back to it and you're like, oh, they did such a good job. I'm just going to leave it because I'm not going to be able to do that. But then you're constantly consuming so much, but not creating content.
Yes.
We need to switch the narrative to consume less and start grounding yourself a little bit more, like you said, whether it's a beach walk, whether it's just journaling or surrounding yourself with people who, inspire you, and start creating better habits for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. And the inspiration will come then. Your content's going to be so much more like people will sense that, like it's coming from a place where you're just like, you don't care. You're not trying to prove anything. And I mean, I get myself like a couple of days ago, I was caught up in that. I'm like, oh, I really need to like post something I haven't posted in a while. And I'm like, I have no inspiration. Why am I being hard on myself? Like, I'm not just going to post for the sake of posting, because then it's inauthentic. So definitely.
That's ick.
Yes. Yeah. I'm not just going to post something because it's like it's trending and like it's tempting. But then I'll look at it and know that that's not me. So it's just like, nah.
When do you find yourself you're most inspired?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'd probably say being around like-minded people, like meeting different people in the industry, even meeting you today. Like it's meeting other people who are making a change, whether that's in the fitness industry or in any aspect of life. That's probably when I feel the most inspired, for sure.
That's awesome. It's a good way of thinking about it, because I find that having conversations with other women or other coaches, it does spark up ideas.
Definitely.
Yeah,
because other female coaches experience the same things. Like as you said, you've had clients that have gone through breakups. Like other female coaches have that too, and being able to bounce off each other and being like, how do you help your client when they go through this, or what do you find is hard for you as a coach? Like it's nice. It's not only reassuring, but it's like creativity flows when you have other people to bounce off, for sure.
100%. I totally relate to that. Have you experienced any breakups that came across with your training and nutrition?
I wouldn't say like, I mean, they weren't exactly relationships. It's weird, but training actually helps me throughout those times. Food, not so much, because I didn't have appetite, but training is one of those things where I'm a little bit like, I just go to myself, no, I would not let anyone stop me from doing something that is like self-care. But when it comes to appetite, yes, definitely. Definitely. Sorry, were you talking about me or my clients? I just didn't even know. Oh, me. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. Appetite is one thing that goes straight away. And it's like force feeding myself.
That's stress for you.
Yeah. I'm like, I am not losing my muscle over anyone. But yeah, no. Luckily, I'm in a very healthy relationship now and I don't have to worry about any of that, which is good.
Good. Love that for you. There's nothing better than being in a healthy relationship where you can eat and train at the same time.
Yes, exactly right. Like, no one talks about that. Yeah, healthy relationships with your partner and yourself is super important. Super. I mean, it's the same as not even just going through breakups, but to touch on it, being in something that isn't healthy, that is toxic with another person, with your significant other, is I've seen it time and time again with clients, and I'm like, this is actually causing you more damage than a breakup actually would.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's spoken enough about. Do you have an example?
oh, I don't have I won't say specifics because it's like each individual and clients, but I just think like if you're in a relationship where either someone is mistreating you, making you feel shit, either being unfaithful, whatever it may be, that long term does more psychological damage to you and your self-worth, the way you view yourself, and like will even after a breakup you'll still carry with you. And I see it with people. I mean, everyone's been through something where they've been mistreated, and like trauma is a real thing. We carry it with us. So I definitely think like sometimes it's about biting the bullet and ending something that isn't healthy so that you have less long-term repercussions.
Fun fact for those who don't know, trauma is actually held in our bodies for 7 generations.
Wow.
7 generations. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's just what's happening right now. It's what happened to your parents, what happened to your grandparents and their parents, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's crazy.
That's interesting. Yeah, it'd be interesting to even to see people who have survived wars and stuff.
Yeah.
If their relatives, like later down the track, suffer more with anxiety or different things, it would be an interesting one.
Yeah, they do a lot of research around that. And I was reading a few studies around that. So
Yeah,
crazy.
that's crazy. So don't do it for you. Do it for your future grandkids.
But really, and you know what they say, trying to come out of, let's say, whether it's a toxic relationship or a situationship or a friendship, whatever it is, breaking that cycle is probably the most empowering thing for you, because you're not just breaking it for yourself, you're breaking it for your future self, or your future kids if you're wanting kids, or your future partner if you want partners. It's like the future will within hold you for a better place.
Definitely. I could not agree more. Like we accept what we think we deserve. And it's just about like, I really think it's different from like abusive relationships, but let's talk in general. If you like let someone continuously treat you badly, that is then what you believe you deserve. So it's about like, self-love, as much as I like talk about it and it can sound corny at times, is the biggest thing that you can do for yourself, because your life will just become 10 times better from there.
So true. And that's with anything.
Yeah, literally anything. Your fitness journey, your relationships, even work, knowing your worth in a job that you may need to leave, or just any situation.
Yeah. And how often do you know of people who stay within jobs that they absolutely hate?
Yes. I've had 2 clients this week that have left jobs where they were treated badly. You've just got so much. Age is only a number. There is so much potential that people don't realize they have to offer with the world. And if an environment is not making you thrive, it's just not worth being in. Obviously, I understand like financial struggles. Don't get me wrong. You can't just click your fingers and hope for another job. But I think, honestly, if an environment isn't suiting you, it's not worth being in.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it's being a little bit uncomfortable for a while to making those changes.
Definitely. Yeah. Getting outside of your comfort zone, massive. What about yourself? Have you found that there's ever been situations like that where you've left toxic environments or?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Personal experience, definitely leaving an abusive relationship. And then that was really tough because, for those who are not physical, but more of an emotional. And I feel as if, in my opinion, it's much harder because your self-worth is completely vanished. So you think you're not good enough. You're not going to find a good partner. You just deserve the shit because you've had shit.
Yeah.
So coming out of that and doing the work, making myself realize, hey, it wasn't me. It was, oh, okay, I'm not gonna like shame and blame, but like we all have parts in relationships. And I'm not fucking perfect. No one is. And I'm sure back then I would have had my faults, and so did he. But we learn. You know what I mean?
Yes,
we learn from those situations not to pursue them again, and actually read the red flags when they're coming towards you and not ignore them.
100%. And emotional abuse is one of those things, because you can't physically see it. It is so much harder for you to almost like justify to yourself. Am I going crazy? Like maybe I'm not thinking like straight, and this person isn't as bad as I thought. Definitely. But as you said, like the positive out of that is now you approach your life in a point where you know the red flags, you know, you've been to that extreme that like no one can treat you like that again.
Yeah, 100%. And it also comes down to communication.
Yes. Yeah.
I find that back then it may have been because I was young, I wasn't as self-aware. As we grow older, we build better habits, better communication skills. And the partner that I have right now, oh my God, he's a fucking unicorn, seriously.
Really? Yeah.
Absolute unicorn.
Yeah.
It also comes down because I'm able to communicate my needs better.
Exactly.
Back then I didn't. So I resented my ex back then. And that's where that vicious emotional abuse was happening.
Yes. I could not agree with you more. Like now I'm very similar to you at this point where it's really healthy as a relationship because we are not afraid to communicate our needs. There's no like toxic attachment or anything like that. So it's like, this is what I know I deserve. Meet me there. And it's always yes, but it's no longer being afraid. I think when you're younger too, you're like that fear of abandonment and that fear of like, oh my God, I need to please my partner is very like prevalent. So I see it a lot even in my younger clients. It's like, oh, but like I don't want to upset him, or I don't want to say, I'm like, that is a need of yours. Like if it's reasonable, like your partner should meet you there or at least compromise. And that comes from both ends.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and that's not only in relation to relationships. It should be everything in life, whether it comes to work, your own journey of, you know, your body, your training, your nutrition. Because if you know you deserve something a little bit better, then you fucking do.
Yeah, 100%. So agree. Like whether it's friendships, anything. Like if you know you need, like you deserve better, it's a clear sign that something needs to change as well.
Yeah. And like I sound like a broken record, and you probably do, but like literally it's you stepping out of your comfort zone and realizing that you deserve so much better.
And I wish that's how we phrased things. I wish it wasn't, I hate myself, I want to change. I wish it's like, I deserve better. Imagine if we just phrased things differently, how much healthier our mindsets would be towards whether it's weight loss or weight gain, whatever it is, like saying, I deserve better, not I hate myself, so I'm going to lose weight.
Yeah. Oh my God. So true. Seriously, if no one's taking notes today, unless you're gonna like save this for later and re-listen or re-watch this, I swear, girls, today, like all these golden nuggets we have spoken about, we've not only spoken about like eating disorders, training, we even covered relationships.
Relationship advice got in there as well. Yeah.
Right? But you know what? It's all relatable to everything. That's the wellness of our life. It's not just training and nutrition. It's your relationship. It's your work environment. It's finances. It's mental health.
Oh, 100%. And like, as a coach, like even you being able to open up about that makes you a more real person and makes your clients able to see that as well.
And for our listeners, it just shows you that Chloe and I are not fucking perfect.
Definitely not. I know I'm not. So yeah.
Far from it. You know, we have our good days and we have a fucking down days. You know, I don't know about you, Chloe, but like yesterday, most of the day I was just fucking crying.
Oh, same. I'm glad you said it. Wait, was it yesterday, Monday? No, Monday I was crying. So 100%.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It is, exactly. And it's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to acknowledge your feelings. And it's okay for you to sit down and be like, cool, I've acknowledged my feelings. I'm feeling sad. What can I do to make myself feel a little bit better, so you don't stay within that vicious cycle.
Yes. Yeah. It's about being your own best friend and being like, okay, cool, I need to change things. For me, sometimes it's just like a motivational podcast. As weird as that sounds, like not like corny motivational, but seeing someone who's had a really tough upbringing or something that's really inspiring that just gets me going like, okay, I'm going to get out of my rut.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the girls got a lot of motivational from us today.
Yeah, a little bit of truth and motivation all mixed into one. So,
all right, a little bit of a pep talk for those who needed it.
Yes, I hope so.
Well, hopefully we've inspired you girls to, just take a little bit of a better control of yourselves, or whether it's your mental health, your body image, or relationships. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Exactly right.
I love that. Well, Chloe, before we finish, thank you so much for joining me. Like, the last hour has been fabulous. Seriously, I did not think this conversation was just going to flow so easily, but seriously, it has been amazing. So before we finish off, where can our followers find you?
On Insta, so Chloe Avanessian. The last name's a bit of a hard one. Blame my parents, they're wogs. So, yeah. So I am on there. If anyone wants to find me.
I love that. Don't worry, girls. I will have it in the notes of the podcast. click on the link instead of going, what was his last name again?
How do I say that or spell it? No, it's a hard one. So
I love it. Well, girls, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you did, please make sure that you screenshot it, tag us at the Women's Fitness Academy, tag myself, tag Chloe. And then till next time, remind yourself that you deserve better.